Yes. Well, we are live, a bit late. Welcome, my people. Welcome, everyone, to another evening at the round table. Man, this past week, I'm not sure what to make of it because I see some signs that, well, you guys and the sister, you know of the nomination. 499 people, individuals nominate to take part in a local government election. You know of that. There was also the Rattigan saga. The Rattigan saga was in the news again, And I say that because I receive, I'm not sure if it's an email or a letter or whatever, but I received something, email from Ambassador Marks, talking about this group, this group of 30, which sort of caused the American government to issue this advisory. Somehow should tie the protests and the American government advisory. She make some connection, which I'm not clear at. We see that happen. But overall, I see some positive thing. I see some positive thing happening. For one, I see Mark Golding around a sound system. A dance out hell, like when Manley, I remember in the 70s when Manley was campaigning, Manley would walk and go to different corner, rock and, jazz and what have you. And a brethren said to I, that sort of behavior I'm observed, sort of remind him of Michael Manley. And he wonder if Mark Golding is trying to mark himself in that spirit. A grassroots man, a man who connected to the grassroots. Because I tell you this, I saw him on a stage rocking, and I said to my brethren, why this man have the beat rhythm? The rhythm is part of it. See him, regardless of what them say about Mark Golding. Mark Golding, the way he moves, it seems like a man who used to come at Tubby's dance, come stomp and rock to the movement and what have you. And that's what I saw. I might be wrong, I'm not sure. So, brethren, the local government election, what do you think is happening? Is this another PMP GLP trap? And I say trap, because the PMP is going to close the gap. They're going to close the gap. That is obvious. Which said to me, it's a Golding is gaining some traction on the ground. The PMP might not win, but certainly it seems as if the direction, the sentiment that I'm getting out of Kingston is that there's a narrowing of the gap between the GLP and the PMP. Am I right or wrong? And I just pose that question. Anyone can take it up. Anyone can take it up. I wouldn't mind hearing from the listeners.
There's in terms of sentiment and in terms of some kind of mood in the country, it is trending towards what you're saying. But it's not a guaranteed thing that the sentiment has been transformed into any active switch on the part of the electorate. We can't be sure about that, but definitely the sentiment in the country is trending towards, the PNP. Whether or not it will be just closing the gap with the GLP or an outright win, it definitely suggests that the PNP would, at the end of the election period, would have gained some amount of seats from what is happening politically in the country. There's certainly a lot of disgruntlement with the government on certain issues. It's hard to say whether or not those anti-government feelings have really created that big change in the electorate, But I personally would hope that is what is happening, and that more and more people say that they need to send a message to the government, that the people are not satisfied with their performance, and the best way to do it is to, go to the polls and make their voices heard, in that regard.
Patrick,
Yeah.
I would say you are probably the most political and insightful of all of us, right, at this round table. What you make of it, my brother? Because I saw a thing, and it's no longer, the approach is no longer Joshua and the rod and sort of dress the candidate a certain way and presenting.
Well,
Here you have the PNP presenting the leader, round as rock and amongst the people and move and a groove, and what you make of it?
well, here's the thing now, right? We're talking about local government election, and we have to make the important distinction, right? The distinction between a local government election and a national government election. The people of Jamaica right now is more fired up and more focused on seeing a national election. They want to see a government change for the most part, right? That is the spirit that is evolving right now across Jamaica, right? Enough of the GLP and the corruption and all the shortcomings and all of that, and they're more focused on a national election, right? Having said that, with the local government election, for one, I don't know if they have announced a date, but I certainly am not even aware of what date.
February 26th.
February 26th, right? We are at the start of February, and hardly anything is mentioned about, right, who the councillors are.
No. That is out there. That is out there.
No. I don't mean that the information isn't out there. I'm just saying in terms of, I'm talking from the people perspective, right? And the spirit of what's coming out, right? It's more focused on, like you said, Mark Golding, right, and his leadership, right? Now, that spirit is more of a national spirit and not a local government spirit. So, of course, the local government election is what the GLP is hoping will set the temperature for them to, determine them next move in terms of how them approach the national election and so on. But at the same time, we don't get enough coming out, right, in terms of what is to be expected with this local government election and campaigning, right? So, that is my take on it at this point.
Maxine?
Well, I'm a music person, right?
I know. Say you studied politics in America and music. So, what you read into it? You saw the thing I'm referring to. You saw it?
Yes.
Yeah. What you think of it? Because
Well,
it seemed like it was, they were out campaigning, and I don't want to say this was a deliberate move by the PNP to have him doing this, but just the image and the message it sent, around the sound, and he's wearing his Kangol hat and like a rude boy. What you make all of it? What you make all of that?
Well, I think
Even the language changing, you know. You know, about talking the language. He's now
yes, I
talking.
think,
Yeah, the
as you
Jamaican
know,
language straight.
I'm celebrating Dancehall 50 this year. So I'm all for the sound system and the next leader positioning himself to the sound system. But this has been since the last campaign with Brogad and the Clark's Booty and the dancehall music references. It has been the theme that they always use the music to and the culture to determine their communication with the grassroots, who clearly are who they're pandering to in terms of support. So I've been watching him. I mean, this event that you speak of is not the first. I saw the theme the whole time that he was dressed down, not just here, but from he became the leader of the opposition. He has definitely I met him in music circles already, meaning I know he's a connoisseur and a interested party in Jamaican music. So he's well versed in the history of our music and etc. So I just look at him actually matching what Wholeness has done and continues to do, because Wholeness also comes from where is it? His constituency is very much dancehall. And so that's how I looked at it. I was like, oh, it's toe to toe. You understand? And he's presenting himself, especially since so much criticism was being thrown at him that he's not a quote unquote black Jamaican. You understand what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of barbs, coming from the other side about who he is or what he is. So he did have to, and he has made various attempts, even showing his family, his wife, etc., to counter that quote unquote outsider image that they do try to stick on him, So it's fair for me, and because I'm a dancehall person, it's all good.
A gentleman, Rupi and John, we're talking about the local government election and some signs that we observe. And we point specifically, I point specifically to Golden, the image of Golden at the dancehall session around us, around our sound system, the DJ. And when I saw that, it reminded me of the 70s, Michael Manley moving amongst the people. And I'm wondering, what do you make of this approach? Are we seeing a new approach by the PNP in terms of mobilizing its base, getting them ready for the local government election and the general election? What do you make of it? What do you think of it? John, can you step back so we can see your face? I keep on seeing the top of your head.
You have a problem with my bald head, I don't know why.
Yeah, man, I do. It shines.
Yes, well, I can't help that.
All right, well, that's when you join the discussion. That's where we're at. Okay, Rattigan, what do you make of it?
Well, bless up, John Rupert. Yeah, me have a big one up yesterday, because I realized, boy, I'm spend a considerable amount of time with them people every Sunday, family members. I don't recognize them. So I don't know if you need to listen to the program yesterday. Patrick probably that listen to the program.
Yeah, you're more sad.
All right, cool. Look, this for me, this is typical. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that it's evidencing the fact that there's one point in time when all politicians will recognize the voters, and that's around election time. The question is, how long will this recognition continue? And we saw that with the Prime Minister, with Clark's Booty. We see the Clark's Booty come out to the election, and rare was the occasion when we see the Clark's Booty after that, right? Where was the occasion when we saw the interaction between the Prime Minister and the people? And it's packaging. And so if you can package your client to the point where he becomes more attractive to the voters, the people who will decide his fate or her fate, then all the more power. But here's where I stand on it. I tell people, I don't care if you vote JLP or PNP. I don't care your color affiliation. All I care about is that you're an informed voter. And I want you, and that's a purpose of think of this program, my program, and the other programs that I'm associated with, is that we present facts to them and say, look, here are the facts. And you can compare the facts to your reality and then make an informed decision. So if you have a counselor who's been there 20 years, whatever, and the counselor is not doing the things that the counselor is responsible for doing, then it's your duty to make the change or not make the change. But whatever you do, you have to live with that vote. And so if you're going to live with the vote, make it an informed vote. Don't make it a legacy vote. And that's how I see it.
Rupee, you're on the ground. What do you make of the turnout for the campaign, the
First
local
of
government
all,
election?
I want us to big up all the participants. Will, I missed your program yesterday because I had a JP regional program, bro. But I think again try and see if I can upon this Saturday coming.
Or you can watch the one from
Yeah,
yesterday.
watch
After saying that,
Watch the one. Watch the one. You can go back and watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Quite
okay,
interesting.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we had discussed at this time a very significant subject or topic because the local government election is due on the 26th. Nomination day was very lively. A couple of days ago, I think it was Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? All the candidates right across the country. And the colors, there was sea of oranges and also green. You know, this is that I'm in my colors because I don't hesitate to tell people that I in fact was a former regional organizer for the PNP in the largest region, which was St. Catherine and Clarendon. And while I have no reservation in terms of my support, I can be on a program like this, I can be as objective as possible. And you guys know me, if the PNP joke and when them joke, I'm very critical, very fraternal in my criticism, but I am critical. After saying all of that, as it relating to Mark, I hear Maxine, and I just want to make some comments about Mark. I recall that the middle section, the primarily middle class in Jamaica, when Portia was the leader, there was this swolper blah blah weary about she not being educated because she never get no formal education to tertiary institution. You know, that's just bullshit. I'm sorry for the language. I don't know why I said that. But I people like myself, you know, another person think that there's just something within the middle section that always just look for these things that is unnecessary. You don't basically try to deal with the person based on what the person is doing, them delivery in terms of how the people see them and so on. You just have a thing. And I think a similar thing with Golden. People now figure that he might try to put on a talk patwa, he might try to, you know, go amongst the masses and be natural and so. Again, that is bulls. Mark Golden, the son of the great man, Mr. Golden, who helped in that era with most of our people who were persons that have a lot of challenges and so on and so forth. Mark got to GSE and was actually brethren with people like Lambert, Brown, and all of the ordinary youth who come out of Standpipe, Ellis Stanflat, Hermitage, and so on. In fact, this man used to go at the party, all of the party in that little circle, Augustown, Hermitage, Ellis Stanflat, Papine, and so on and so forth. This brethren is a man who love him dance, and he used to go dance, right? I'm not talking about uptown party, I talk about dance, rubber dub, reggae music, right? Because as we know that traditionally, some sound, in fact, when we are talking about King Tubby's and Stereograph and so, them man, they are straight rubber dub sound, a straight reggae music. While you would have a sound like Stone Love and some other sound that play both reggae and American R&B and so on and so forth. Golden used to go and pass through a lot of these rubber dub sound all around that geographical space. Not only that, if you notice that the man play good cricket, he play good football. Because again, this is a youth that basically enough in time, him used to merge, not necessarily submerge, but merge with the ordinary Jamaican, and therefore the things them that him do now, when you see him take up a mic, him can DJ music and verbatim, word for word, and so on. This is no acting from this youth. In fact, I have the honor to sit with him in several meetings around the period when we are trying to get the decriminalization of ganja. He was the minister then, the justice minister. And Mark is a ordinary youth like how me talk to anyone of you. And that is how we relate to each other. If Mark see me, him now go turn away mad. In fact, I was recently at an event, a Cuban event where I think they were celebrating so maybe the 60th anniversary of the Cuban Revolution. And he was there, I was there. And Mark, I never ever see Mark, and Mark just shout me, Rupee. And we stop and we chit chat for that is the type of person he is. Him is just an ordinary and a natural person, and him not necessarily putting on anything to try to look like, say, him is a common man. Him grow amongst common people, and basically most of his life. And if you look again in terms of his family, ordinary little Afro-Jamaican woman, produced 3 or maybe 4 lovely children, and so on. So I'm in sympathy with Maxine's point about Mark as an ordinary youth and not necessarily somebody who is acting.
I asked a question. I was more hoping I'd hear something on the local government election, because
if you want, I can just put some
in terms of the election, because I understand what you say, Rupi, that he is an ordinary man and go amongst people and different. You see, but my worry, and I'm just upset this, and then we can move to John, or you can take it up. Again, when I saw this thing, right, it in my head, it confirmed certain things. That them, as a youth man, Mark used to be around man who smoke herb. The way move and rock, grew up in that sort of culture. You understand the universe, the culture, the dancehall culture from the campus and all them things. So I don't have no worry about that. That's not my worry. My worry is he getting traction? That's the question. And if the support that he's getting, does it extend to the national organization and the PNP? And I raise that because Karen Cross gave a commentary. I'm not sure if this Thursday or Friday. But according to her, the PNP is suffering from shortage of workers, electoral workers. And when she said that, I said, oh, it means that people are not fully behind him then. You understand what I'm saying? Because you and I know that it's one thing to have run a campaign, but to get the ballots into the box, you need workers. You need people who go and knock on them door and write up and register people who are going to vote. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
but Miguel, let we assess this now. Remember, you know, that the shortage of workers don't equally mean that there's necessarily less support for a particular party. It can be, yes, you might correct in terms of lack of organization, right? And therefore, in terms of the preparation from the PNP, and remember to that carrying of our own, let me just, you are right, carrying of our own agenda, right? But I don't want to get into that because we can waste a lot of time in that. That might be true that maybe they don't at this time have the requisite amount of workers that is needed across the country, across the PDs, across the various divisions, etc. But we must always remember, let us not forget that politics internationally and politics locally as it relating to electors, more and more people are getting a little bit tired and fed up because they see over a period of time, our national politics is roughly about 7 decades as it relating to adult suffrage up to now, right? And people across the party lines, both JLP and PNP, are becoming more and more, withdraw themselves, are becoming more and more apolitical, right? And let us just remember some figures out of the last national election. Remember that we have 1.9 million voters. And out of 1.9 million voters, only 724,000 voted. And the total amount of vote was 37.8, really 38% of vote, of which 300,000 voted for the People's National Party. And just a little over 400,000 voted for the Jamaica Labour Party. Let us now look at in terms of the distribution. The PNP got 14 seats, the JLP got 49. The PNP gets 16% at the total vote. The JLP get 21% of the total vote. So, in a nutshell, this has been the worst turnout from a percentage point of view, again, since adult suffrage, right? Now, what it shows is a decline in terms of people basically participating in the electoral process because people I get a little bit frustrated and I get a little bit, I lose whatever confidence them have in a both party. And I am saying that that can have a correlation to some extent to the fact that a party might have struggled to get the requisite. And then the whole thing come in again where the JLP bringing the question of paying people to work, right? The party that is in a better position to pay people to work, and you would understand and know this, is the Jamaica Labour Party. Because they have the bourgeoisie and a lot of the property and business class that support the party. And therefore, they are in a position to basically get more funding and more money where they can use to buy people. The PNP, yes.
I want to come back to that. But before I do, Let me bring John into the discussion. John, my worry,
Yes, sir.
my worry is the PMP at the nomination. We saw a large turnout, huge turnout, which show that there is some organization, some level of organization went into the mobilization of the people. So it is safe to assume that the disunity within the PMP minimized. It's less than, let's say, 3 months ago. What your take on that? Remember, there was it's like Golden and Bunting and another segment of the PMP involved in a continuous fight. And yet they were able to pull off that massive turnout. What you make of that? They have things together going into the local government election.
Well, let me begin by saying, because you asked a question at the beginning when I just came on. I'm just going based on that conversation. I didn't hear what Maxine said, but I heard very carefully what Rupert just said. And what Rupert just said is that the country is in a relatively, I don't want to say dormant state, because the two parties that we have in Jamaica, what they are geared for is elections. It's not sufficient to argue that the turnout, the number of workers or people involved will not be sufficient for the party to have a good showing in elections. Of all the things that these two parties are good for, it is to win elections. The question in my mind is, what happened after that? If the whole purpose of the party is to win election and they get an A or a B for that goal, we should be asking a bigger question. The fact that the leadership love the music, that they use the music just like how a man can eat Jamaican food. Him use the food, him use the music to rub up with the people. Where is that leader going? I don't ask the question where the leader come from. I ask the question, where is the leader going? What's the end result of that party or the election process? Is it going to bring about any significant change to the condition of the everyday people? That is what I ask myself. I don't care if a man is a lawyer, the man is a doctor, the man is a priest, him come from upper class, lower class, or behind class. The question is, where is he going with the party? Where is he going with the people? That is what we should be asking ourselves. I don't think that it's sufficient to argue that the PNP you can't conclude that they're going to lose or they're going to win based on their performance in elections, because that's what they're geared for. They need a certain amount of workers to win election, but you need more workers to change the country. You need a certain amount of workers to bring out vote, but you need more workers, not just at election time, but everyday time, to make the country different. And we have gone through, with Michael Manley, some of those things. We have seen it. Some of us have participated in it. And I believe that is if we are concerned about election, then we stop short of what is necessary. Because is more than just winning election. It's about what is the direction of the party vis-a-vis all the things that we speak about to death in this group. About education, about crime, about housing, about, we have that list on the manifesto that we started out with, or we were talking about, which I think we mustn't lose sight of. Otherwise, we're just going to be running with the crowd. We're running with the crowd, and right now the crowd want to get PNP want win, JLP want win. To what end? How does either party winning change the condition of the ordinary people at the end of the day? Now, some of them want to win because their pocket going line. We know that. Some of them are fighting to get in power so that they can line their pocket. Some of them are already lining their pocket by being in the power. And I think we need to look further than just election. Because yes, we must be able to show that we are feasible or possible by winning an election. But beyond that, the point that Rupi, I like the numbers, Rupi, I beg you, I'm trying to find those numbers somewhere. If you can email them to me, I would be very grateful. I was looking at them at one point, but they didn't have as much other information that you mentioned in terms of the, the votes and so on, and the seats and the votes. All of this is a manifestation of the relative dormancy. And as you said, it is one of the lowest turnout in the history of adult suffrage in Jamaica. So that's how
Not one up, it is the lowest turnout.
Yes, it is the lowest turnout. So that is a manifestation of what we can't sit in a little room and believe that things going to change if the people are coming out of, quote unquote, the lowest turnout of elections. We have to take time, help build it up. And the first thing to help build it up is the People's Manifesto, education. To have some programs out there that the people can relate to. They're not related to the PNP or the JLP or the whichever P. It's about what specific programs can help to move the people from point A to point B. And the last thing I will say is I was fortunate enough to go to Pluto Shervington Memorial in Miami. It was really below Miami. I'm in Florida, but it was a 4-hour drive to go down there. And one of the good things that came out of it, first of all, let me make a point that the Council General for the government was there to present, I forget what you call it, all of the different Jamaica, then the Broward County government, the Miami-Dade government, and another government in Florida. All of them presented, I forget the terminology, like
citation.
Yeah, it's a citation in effect to Pluto. I can't remember the song right now because down there while I was there, I was singing it when the DJ was playing it. But his music touched the heartbeat of Jamaican people. Some of the songs anyway. There's one I didn't recognize. And from our point of view, he launched a trust, a foundation.
John.
Yeah.
Can you hold that for time? Because I think you're going down into the Waterhouse thing, right? That's you're talking about the trust
No,
and
I just mentioning that he has done, he left a legacy that is of benefit to anybody who want to make use of it.
Okay.
You know,
But
he
I
left a
want
legacy.
I
And
want follow.
well, I don't have to make mention of it, but the people who were there, Wayne Harman from Chalice, who I know personally,
Ernest Smith.
Ernest Smith performed one of his songs, which everybody knew. Now, these are Jamaicans, you know, some of them, if I recall correctly, the first wave of middle class people who left Jamaica when Manley was just beginning to sharpen his machete and was talking about 5 flights to Miami and so on. So I wore my dark glasses out of make sure I wear my dark glasses so I wouldn't have any unnecessary. Yes.
I want to follow up on something you raised and talk to Rupi also. What you outlined that the election there's more to the whole process than just the election. Okay, we agree on that. Now the question, I hear you bawling out, and a lot of other folks bawling out, but the Jamaican people, are they at that stage just now? Are they at that stage to accomplish what you want to see them accomplish right now?
But we just said no.
Okay, so how are we going to move the PMP? You know,
it's not how we move the PMP, you know.
Wait, no, John. That is a question everybody's going to ask, you know, as to how we move the PMP in one direction or the other. But I think, in addition to worrying about the capacity of the People's National Party right at this point, I think we should also be worried about the undemocratic tendency of this government. The local government is coming up. At the same time, what they have done, the Ombudsman Office, remember the Ombudsman Office, the role of this organization, this office, was an independent role. Now, what they have done is take that office and put it into the Electoral Commission. You understand me? So they limit, and I think this is worrying. You know, it should be of concern to everyone why they make that move at this point. Is it that they want to control the election?
But Mikey, it's funny you ask a question because that goes in part to what John is saying and what Rupi said earlier, right? Just to go back to what Rupi said, and even before Rupi and John came on, of course, I alluded to that from a different standpoint too, and then we'll also chime in on it, because the whole thing about it is that what's being looked at when we talk about elections is that we tend to just look at, you know, the people running for office, right, and the party, right, and who we would like to see win. But there's nothing in terms of our whole understanding as to what is our responsibility, right, in the whole process, right? Because to Rupi's point, first of all, right, why is it that, you know, since adult suffrage, right, this last, this period has seen the lowest results, or the lowest participation, right, of the electorate, right? That is the first thing we need to look at, right?
We know the answer to that.
That is something we need to change, right? And how we go about changing that, because that goes both to Rupi's point and to John's point, right? Which I totally agree with, and also what Will said, right? Because what happens is that we have seen things move in a wrong direction, right? since 1980 onwards, right? To reverse all of what we were trying to build on in the 70s. And there's a reason for that. How do we turn that around? Right? How do we bring it back to the old situation of our people, right? And really our livelihood, right? Because what you're talking about for the most part right now is a young electorate, right, with far less understanding than what we saw in the 70s, right? Because what happens is that it's not the same climate, right? And not to take anything from Golding, right? Of course, I fully agree with everything where Rupi said pertaining to Golding, right? I like his spirit, I like all of that. But he himself is a youngster, and he said that much in terms of you know, him coming to politics and understanding politics in certain ways and all of that, right? He himself said that, and I respect that about him, right? But this is what we really need to be discussing more, and that's part of the reason to why John mentioned, right, had to mention, right, the manifesto and so on. So you know, I'd like to see us really get into that aspect of the discussion. And Rupi, I guess, would be the best man for really give us a feel of what it is like on the ground down there now as it pertains to this question.
I asked those questions, you see, and I'm going to ask those questions because in all of the discussion we have over the months, somehow there's something fundamentally wrong with the People's National Party, in my view, and that is the shift from a PMP who in the 1970s was very active amongst grassroots people, very active amongst the people, building organization. And on that work, they were able to do and accomplish a lot. No, that is not happening. None of the political parties right now are encouraging the Jamaican people to organize themselves. None of them. And I think that is a fundamental issue that need to be addressed. How do we get the people to start organize themselves? And I think that is even more important than even a manifesto itself. If you walk through places like Waterhouse and other parts of Kingston, every organization flat, broken down. Most organization, Rupi, you have seen it, right? There's no organization active.
I want to say something on that, Mikey, just before Rupi come in. You know, we for a long time recognize that, as John said, both parties, they are more geared towards winning elections. It's less about creating some fundamental change that can really take the quality of life of the Jamaican people to any greater heights. You mentioned about the organizations, that the political organizations that are inactive.
Political and civic.
One of the things that I think people in Jamaica have to realize, well, they realize already that them can't depend on the political parties. That is why the voter turnout and the participation in elections have been going down and down. I think one of the things that needs to be encouraged and highlighted is that the people need to find alternative organization outside of the political parties, inside of their communities, to build and strengthen the communities and strengthen the country. The political parties, the political party organization, is one thing, but the people, the communities, right, need to have organizations independent of the political parties that benefit them community. One of the things that happened under Michael Manlino, if you guys remember, is that a lot of those organizations that were involved in the political process were not political organizations in the sense of party organizations. Rupi can remember that the wave of youth clubs, although it was encouraged by that PNP, but they were not political organizations. They were community councils. They were youth clubs, right? They were citizens associations, which were not political organizations, but they played a part in the political process and they played a part in the development of the communities. And one of the things that we are noticing is that when those independent organizations break down, the political participation inside of the country also break down. Because what? Rupi can remember that the youth clubs, the citizens associations, these were important organizations that were sending forward people from the community level to represent themselves in the party conferences, in the divisional conferences, and so forth. You had youth leaders, community leaders that came from these civic organizations that participated in the political process, right, or contributed. Some contributed just support, some contributed in ways of organization that helped the political process. But where community organizations are not encouraged, right, the whole political process is going to suffer.
Last, you bring back some
Excellent.
memories. You bring back some memories, last.
Excellent. Excellent, class. Miguel, I think that Waterhouse Vibes have some of the best analytical persons that I've listened to. I think Glass, in a great way, put the thing in perspective. The point he make and the correlation between community-based group, or what is referred to by the social development as NGOs stroke community-based group is a very important point, because even though it was a PNP in the 70s who encouraged persons and people to form their own group, the brother is so correct that the vast majority of these groups were not connected directly to any party. What you could say is that the leadership of these groups would have connected primarily to the PNP. And if you look at the National Democratic Teachers Association led by John, and if you look at the Lawyers Professional Organization led by whoever, if you look at even the JTA, which was more center-right or center-center, all of these groups
Press
were
Association of Jamaica,
national groups, the student groups, all of these groups, the farmers group, and so on and so forth, were independent, but in the main, their leadership supported democratic socialism and the People's National Party, because they think at that time the better of the two was the PNP. But I want to make up a more broader point, Michael. We have to be able to assess that era 4 or 5 decades ago. in terms of what was happening locally, and equally we have to fit it into what was happening internationally.
Internationally.
That is imperative, because we must never forget that that era of Cold War and the ideological differences across the world was important. If you look at what obtained now international, Miguel, there's a BRICS. That BRICS is comprised of some of the closest country to the West and to Europe. They are now departing and going away. It's not no more, no main ideological, nothing, you know. It's not communism and capitalism, you know. It is not the ideology around the principle of socialism and the principle of free market and capitalism. It's not the main thing that current through the world, you know. It is, in my own estimation, what United States and Europe doing to like a little country like Palestine, the only country in the world that bombed over the last 2 to 3 decades. United States bombed about 30 countries and killed millions of people, including kill 1 million in Iraq, right? So the dynamics, right, and the paradigm is basically in relationship to a different type of politics in the world internationally. And we come now to the local situation. That politics of the 70s bring out people like most of the persons on this platform here. And naturally, all of us was vigorously, without thinking about having big car, having big house, thief a whole Pabonian line with pocket. All of us was in this thing because we collectively see that what we were fighting for is a better Jamaica. And if Michael Manley could have produced 50,000 homes, an ordinary Jamaican get 1 through National Housing Trust, that was good. If he could have implement a program which helped the farmers to get land and to get fertilizer and so on, that was important to us. And we can go on and on and on and on and on. But the set of youngsters now, in terms of my own experience and looking at how the new PNP are generally speaking across the board operate, these are persons, in my opinion, who primarily are more careerists in terms of looking at career through politics. Secondly, an ambition to scrape as much as them can scrape, whether it be big house and big Prado and so on and so forth. And we can go on. They are far more materialistic than we. We never, I mean, we make some mistake. Even if a man for buy him house, we were saying that is a petty bourgeois thing. You know, if you own no house, you must just rent. All them crap there. No, it's a total different playing field. A significant section of the people who you want as voters. If you're not giving them X amount of money, but to both to vote and both to work, people are declining. And it is not only amongst the JLP, people with me attack, people on the ground within the People's National Party are having a hell of a problem to get people to volunteer without you basically putting up a certain amount of money. Where I think to some extent, Miguel, that you're correct, is that the party leadership and the organization, and I know speaking for the PNP, maybe not vigorous enough, not in terms of them trying to put that organization and that thing together to ensure that you know they basically get the momentum and to use that in terms of electoral victory. That might be an element. But I take John's point too. But John, I mean, all of us have to agree, you know. The objective situation is that there's 2 main parties. And both me and you know, at any time, the People's National Party is a better facilitators for the Jamaican people. And we can go down the line and we can historically look at the 70 years and look at what each of them has produced and has done for the nation. So we can't hide from that, because the objective reality now is that the people can vote for one of them, because there's not a third force. And this is where I think, I don't know if it's PMAC or last raised the point. The point about the country trying to develop a genuine third force that can basically take on the two existing one, that is imperative. And that's where I want to pass.
I like how you break down that.
John, you want to react to what Rupe is saying?
No,
Okay.
I don't have a disagree. I mean, I don't think it's a question of creating a abstract concept of a third force. The question is where things are at is where things are at. And what we need to be doing is saying, how can we best contribute based on where things are at? And my position is very basic, and it's the same. I've been preaching this in every meeting. Is the idea of this People's Manifesto. I cannot say that more repeatedly, because otherwise we get blind. We're going blind and our navigation carry us south when we need to go north.
But can I just make a quick point? John, here's the problem too with the People's Manifesto. A group house on this platform are some other person who are very advanced and bright in terms of their consciousness can sit in a room or on this platform and create a people's
absolutely agree with you 100%.
Our manifesto. No, let me finish. Our People's Manifesto. And the people themselves, in fact, I raised that in your absence last week. And the people themselves is not an integral part of the process. And that is part of the problem, both internationally and locally. We, the brighter, and those who think we always think we can just think for the people. Let us, whatever People's Manifesto, let us get the people to be an integral part of the discussion. To me, that is imperative.
And we don't agree. We don't disagree. I'm sorry. We don't disagree. What we need to have is a basic draft that can go out there and be sufficiently. We don't have access to everybody. We have to use the current contacts that we have access to create something that is sufficiently representative of what people feel should be in a manifesto. So I'm not suggesting that it's something that we're going to sit in a little room, 13 of us or 10 of us or 5 of us, and create. That's far from it. But we have to at least take it as a draft. We have here, I'm reading these comments in the side, right? I'm reading the comments at the side here. Many of the people who are coming on the show are coming on repeatedly. We have to find a way of bringing those people in to give their views about any quote unquote manifesto. The problem is we don't have an organization. We're trying to, where things go, we cannot predict. The way it went before in Manly is that PNP generated a leader who helped to create an atmosphere and bring about substantial change in the country, which involved all of us. It may not go that way in the future, but for sure, something will happen, because the people's needs are not going to be met in the present circumstance.
I just think that we should turn it over to Maxine now, you know. Hear the voice of a woman. Let's start bring the temperature down. Maxine.
No, the temperature is not.
I need to come in, Maxine. Well, I need to hear your take, because
I was just thinking.
Maxine, some of what Rupi said and what John is saying, I strongly disagree with them. But before I react, I just want to hear you and Rattigan. You know,
Well,
give me your feedback.
I was, as you were talking, I was remembering this week what happened in Pakistan, where a leader that was jailed,
Magic,
Mr.
Imran
Khan,
yeah,
won most of the votes, even though they put him in jail, and the general tactics for governance in that country, which is driven by the military, failed or is failing to hold the status quo. And I'm certainly currently in America, where I'm witnessing the Biden-Trump scenario. And as crazy as Trump might be or whatever, he's like barreling down, you know, the election, you know, their elections that they're pursuing. So I'd have to think that, as Rupi said, the global international trending is affecting, and we ought to be analyzing where those trends are and where we sit within those trade winds or political winds, and understand where, again, as you talk about third party or third force, what I saw developing was the diaspora voice. And the reason I said the diaspora voice, especially America, is because so many Jamaicans in America are unsure of what is going to happen in the United States and want to secure a piece on the rock. You understand? Ordinary folks who are comfortable here or whatever, they see what's happening at the border. They see a lot of insecurities, you know, coming in at us, and everyone is wondering where is their fig tree. You know, but what Trump is predicting to do in relation to the immigration problem or whatever they say is happening here, and how it is going to affect Jamaica, who depends on migrating its people in order to have control, you know, of the home situation, because migration has been what do you call it? You know, when the pressure gets too much, they migrate out the people and get some remittance. So in assessing what Rupert said, I know for sure that the dynamics of population movement and all of that, which is directly related to Jamaica, has shifted. There's a lot of, as Rupi said, a lot of Jamaicans, young people who are totally focused on Jamaica. I think, you know what I mean? Like coming out of America, like out of our population here. And they're studying or coming in, trying to figure out what business they can run on the internet and how they can, you know, manage. And And so even when I'm looking at this diaspora conflict with the government, with Rattigan and, you know, what they're doing and all of these movements, I see those shifts, you know? And so the what is happening are, for me, with the base of the all the parties can depend on now is their base. They're almost the actual people that depend on that, what do you call it, that handout. The rest of the population is involved in this world shifting that they don't know who, what, where, or when. And so I'm hopeful, you know, I'm a Rastafarian, and so we have wanted to overthrow this government from, you know, 1930, right? so I'm somewhat like Rattigan, like I'm not for anybody. I would like facts, and you know, the fact would be that there's a class, there's a business class, there's an economic class that has nothing to do with the orange and the green, keeps this economic class and their way that they want to run Jamaica in power. And any one of them that suits the people to not challenge the fundamental
Status quo
is allowed in. You understand? And if the people get a little bit riled up, they say, okay, shift the other one in. Because then it will keep back the people, keep the people down. And there's some benefits that come to some amount of people when the shifting occurs. So I'm, you know, in terms of the assessment from most ones on the platform, you know, everyone is talking, is saying something that's real. But I think we have to, as an organization of ones that are interested, we have to watch the trends, really analyze the demographics. And if in fact it is the base that is running this thing, then we have to, like Mark Golding, get down to the base and, you know, seek to, at least, you know, like you say, on PNP side, you feel that much more like, okay, some policies will make more sense on the PNP. The JLP just, them is strict, what you call trickle-down theory. The PNP, well, with Mark Golding and Bunting, they're coming from proven financial, you know, capitalist success. And what they're hoping, I guess, what is being hoped for is that a balance of that business acumen with some social understanding is what we're hoping to achieve, you know, to get back in power, to allow the type of thinking that Lass was talking about, where independent thinkers like myself or projects or whatever can find a little bit more room. But the issue is the economic class. You understand? And being able to assess, because I think that is what Manley or whatever we're trying to do. They were trying to adjust that ownership of capital and getting more of the Jamaican people, majority African descendants, to be empowered economically into terms of ownership, not in terms of working for, but what do we own? What do we as a people own? You know, we're quarreling about taking the land and giving to the Spanish and the Chinese, and who is doing these negotiations? And what is this quarreling about, you know? And it has to do with, you know, I see Cuba is now making a report of what the embargo has done to their country and why it was installed and why is it there. You understand? And we need to recognize that we are in the same dynamic of American or whatever this thing is. It's the economics that is crushing us. And we're trying to get wiggle room from one of these parties. I don't know what's his name, Brogad. You know, he came out, like I said, pandering, and I don't know, maybe he was trying. I think his constituency look a little brighter driving up the road there. I don't know what he's achieved, but you know, he still has to be like, oh, he's making all these mega projects that's gonna do good for Jamaica. But how are you gonna trickle down to the people? You create a highway. When you create the highway, like in St. Thomas there now, you cut out the whole of the economics of the people internally on those roads. And these people that created their economic scenario are not given any manifesto as to how these roads are going to benefit them. You understand? All you see now is some private capital coming in now to own the land, set up their plazas, set up their homes, and that you now are merely a labor force to support the infrastructure. You have no ownership in what is coming, is what is being developed. So where's a critical analysis now of what is this, we call it? Prosperity. You know what I mean? And I don't hear that type of conversation even coming from the PNP in analyzing that these projects, these millions and millions of billions of dollars in tourism and all of this, you just hear some little fanciful talk that it should trickle down, but nobody's feet is being held to the fire to say, no, it's the cost to us is going to be XYZ. I mean, we talked about the sea of orange and the sea of green last week, but there was another sea. The sea that took the whole North Coast and mashed up everything along the along the coast. It was
Montego Bay.
frightening. Montego Bay, Ocherius, Negril. And if that is your economy, tourism, and what I saw there, which nobody has even explained, I looked through the paper and them just said coal, and there was some, yeah, like it's crazy. So that's for me. I'm just observing. I don't, you know, I just think that we need to study the trends more so, as you know, and put our thoughts aligned with these international trends and what our international people, especially our young people, they're very much looking into Jamaica because they don't see themselves anymore in America. They don't see themselves in England. You understand? As diaspora people. And they're very much coming in. And they want to, because Jamaica has such a huge brand, that they feel that they can come to Jamaica and do them international online, you know, companies and so on and so forth. That's my energy. That's what I see. And, you know, I'm still willing to work with the dancehall.
Rattigan, you have a take on what you heard so far?
Yeah, some interesting views. You can make an argument for, you can make an argument against. My only contribution to it is this. Maxine was saying that you have international or young people living outside Jamaica who would like to see a better Jamaica because they want to return or they want to go to Jamaica. And for over the last 2 months or so, I've had some students, young people, university students, graduates, on my program, and they expressed the opposite view. They want to leave because they said, look, it's dire here. There's nothing here for us. We have student loans ballooning. We don't have any job prospects except to go work at a call center. And that's really, it's not only beneath us, but the pay itself, it's just not worth it. So it's funny when you contrast those two views from people overseas wanting to go and people living there who said, no, I want to leave because there's nothing going on here for me. And the other thing is that, and I think Rupert made the point that, actually he emphasized the point because he made it last week, that what we should do is we should engage the ordinary Jamaican, listen to what they have to say, because it can't be that the ideas are coming only from overseas. And I agree with him. And to that extent, I think John read something where they were saying you should have more people, ordinary Jamaicans on your program. And just talk to them, just listen to them to figure out what they want, what they're experiencing. And then kind of juxtapose that to what we're saying to see how we can combine our efforts to help Jamaica. And let me just put a plug in for what we are doing. And I say we, them call us now the Dirty 30. The 30 of us who went down to Miami. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to do our best from here. But the effect is still the same as if they're doing it from Jamaica. And that is to hold government accountable at the end of the day. That's it. So that Jamaica can be this beacon of hope and prosperity and peace and success. And until we do that, it's going to be exactly what it is now and maybe even worse. But we trust and we hope and we pray that May 10th, we're going to have hundreds, if not thousands of Jamaicans protesting in front of the Consulate General on the corner of 2nd Avenue and 42nd Street. And we will bring even bigger attention to the problems affecting our people, our brothers and our sisters in Jamaica. And hopefully the government will do a correction course for the people to cause the correction course to take place. So that's all I have.
Is that in DC?
No, DC is going to be in June.
New York.
May 10th is New York.
New York.
But you'll hear more about it. And June, Herb gave me the date last night.
Let me say something here. When we started out talking about the local government election, right? And we observe that 499 individuals were nominated for the election coming up in February 26. Now, one of the questions people like me and others in White House ask is, what have these councillors done to deserve returning back to the municipal government? What have they done? I personally feel that these representatives, the councillors and the MP in Jamaica, they have gotten away with a lot. A lot. One of the things they use amongst other Jamaican people, the politicians, when the JLP is in office, the PMP in the opposition, they tell you that they can't do nothing because they are not in office. It's a trick that both the PMP and GLP use in order to justify their existence. I think that we need measures in place to address that sort of practice. MP the consular, let me do the consular. The consular, in my view, should be required to, among other things, organize the people. That doesn't depend on what's happening in the international situation. He's just doing his job. And that must be asked of him and required of him. Any politician representing the people, Jamaican people, must be required to accomplish certain things. One of which must include the organization of the people in their groups, whether meeting them at the club, meeting them in the rum bar, but organizing must be part of the consular duties. And I feel strong about this because I listen to the argumenting and I wonder for a place like Waterhouse. I wonder a lot because we have two PMP consulars representing our area. Patrick Roberts and Byron. Okay. Our MP for one section of the area is Holiness. Hilton, Holiness and Hilton. And it's like it's a common thing you hear about them. But we can't do nothing, because we don't get nothing from the government. They not give us, and you don't know it go. We are not in power. But yet still they collect, they pay. I think that we need fundamental change in terms of how local government function in Jamaica. And we shouldn't let these guys and these men and these women get away with fooling our people. That's my only take on it. You understand me? That's where I stand.
Can I say something here?
Go ahead, brother.
The amazing thing is that everything that has been said here have its place. Right? I don't hear anything so far that I would outrightly dismiss. It's not about agreeing and disagreeing on anything. It's really about just listening and really understanding what we ought to be doing. Last made a point, right, in terms of back in the 70s and so on, when we had community organizations, right? Meaning organizations that actually came out of the community itself. It never come out of the parties. And then, of course, Rupi, of course, mentioned that a lot of these is where PNP, right, and the GLP made their links, right? Because they never set it up, but they make the link in there, once it gets set up, right? And we know the role of like John and so on. I remember the days when we had with the whole youth club situation in Waterhouse and all of that, right? It's politics that destroy all of these things. But the word there is that politics that set it up, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that there's no way, right, we're gonna move beyond a situation where, as Rupi says, right, low turnout, right, for election, and the low turnout is directly, right, attributed to people's lack of understanding of what their responsibility is as a citizen of Jamaica, right? For understand the process, understand how the country runs, right? And do their part in participating, vote responsibly, as Will said, right? Having your own ideas, as John said, with the People's Manifesto, because this is what we're talking about now. This is really what we're talking about. We're talking about the involvement of the people, right, for their own good. This is really what it's all about, right? And then, as Maxine says, right, really just observing and studying all the elements, right, so that you build an understanding. Use your own intelligence, right? Because this is what we lack. Right? In Jamaica, there's a mentality, a savior mentality, looking for leaders out of crisis. What is the crisis? They don't understand what the crisis is. They just know that boy are hungry, I can't get job, whatever it may be, right? And that's it. But in terms of a way forward, nobody has a perfect solution. We have to eke out that solution in terms of what we develop, right, to move us forward. And everybody have a role for playing it. The purpose of this is to really bring that enlightenment. Because in part, we are also enlightening ourselves. Right? I like to go from the historical perspective because I'm a historian at heart. And that's why I tie everything in. Right? Because hindsight is 2020. Perfect. You see things perfectly when you look back. Right? And then observe and measure and come up. Right? Because this is how you chart your way forward. Right? This is how the manifesto evolve. Right? Because it evolved from an understanding.
Can I ask a question? How will looking back help us to get the councillors active in organizing the community?
The councillors themselves, how much they know about what their job is.
No, I'm not asking you in terms of you know why I say that? Because when we were organizing in Waterhouse, we had support from the councillor, Mr. Ellis. We had there was others, not just Mr. Ellis. We had role model and what have you. People encouraging us and all of that stuff. My question is, looking back, how do we get the councillors to, I would say, assert themselves, become active at the community level? Not just complaining, but organizing the people.
Here my take on that, Mikey.
Yeah.
It's that we can't, you raise the issue of accountability. In my view, you can't have accountability without organizations in place to hold people accountable.
Exactly.
Right? Both at the local level and at the national level. Because when we look back, and Rupi raised that point about the influences and the political situations back then that is not present now. In that time, there were a lot of movements across the world, national liberation movements and so forth taking place across the world. It was easy for governments to find solidarity with these movements and join forces to get things done at the international level, and it spin off on the local level. Those forces that can support certain kind of changes in the world, not there anymore to influence the government at the national level and so forth. That is where our diaspora now come in and tie in, because we don't have those international forces that the governments and the politicians can look to for support or for pressure to change and to organize in a certain way.
Okay, last. When Mr. David Core became MP for Waterhouse, one of the first action his wife took, Rita Core, was to organize the community around the festival thing. Organize groups, young people, group of dancers, group of this, group of that, Rita Core. And if you were in, let me finish. If you were in water, yeah.
I don't know, but you see, I think to some extent, with all due respect to you, I think you're making a fundamental error. It is always good to go back and look at the past, to understand the present and move forward to the future. There's nothing wrong with that. But here we are here, you're constantly doing over the last hour and a half is to present what obtained in your era, which is 40, 50 years ago, to basically say to us why we don't have the same situation that obtained then now. The fact is that every single thing to a great extent is different, including the primary thing, which was the human resources. And what was happening at that time from a point of view of the old Michael Manley era, that whole feeling of people want to do things and get things done. The same point raised by PMAC and by Lascelles. Again, we have to go back to that. Naturally, people just feel a urge to form youth club, senior citizen group, community council, and all kind of organization. So people were ready to participate in terms of the natural development of the community. And to a great extent, to the people used to push the councillors and used to push the MP. It's not the other way around. It's the people that based on them activities and based on how them feel and when them understand how to democratic socialism and the introduction of the International Monetary Fund, and we can go on and on. People get the type of feelings and vibes that was able to say to Councillor Ellis, we in this youth club, we are proposing that you do A, B, and C, sir. That no obtain, brethren, that no they know. What we have to do, and where I agree with you in essence, we have to find a way to see how we can sort of whatever term you want to use, how we can get back ordinary community-based group, independent parties to basically say, do A, B, and C. But I think last raise a fundamental point too. That to a great extent, from once that independent group wasn't towing the partisan line, there's a way in which the party ignore it and try to suppress it and sometimes target its leader. And to a great extent, some of those organizations over time were removed. And I am saying, and this is where too, in terms of trying to put things in context, when I raise the thing in terms of what is happening internationally, it has to do, in trying to look at what is happening in the world. Because we are an integral part of what is happening in the world. And to look at our local situation and to see the trend, Maxine used the correct term, the trend and the tendencies, so to speak, in terms of what is happening. So my point to you is that I am agreeing with you. This thing from the councillors, them about them knowing a power, so them can't do nothing, that cannot be accepted, right? The fact is that them have to find creative way to represent people. I see my youth in a Waterhouse, how much independent road him get, the councillor run behind him. That is Chris. Chris go and make representation and get JC to come in and rehabilitate several roads. Those are things that councillor can do. Councillor can be independent even when them getting from government. There's a string of businesses along the Spanish Town corridor. These councillors can go and make representation and get these businesses, and so on. So I agree with you on that, But where you have to be careful, stop think about 70s and 80s in terms of is that where you want to see in a Waterhouse today? Is that total different paradigm, brother?
No, Roop. You know what I was thinking?
Well, maybe me take you out of context. Tell me.
You know what I'm thinking? And I thought you would have said it, is that a lot of the organization that the PMP adopt as their own were initiative independent of them. The PMP much of the organization that went with PMP, they weren't started by PMP.
That's what you've been saying, Mikey.
Yeah,
Paul
but it's an
Mitchell was that.
indication.
One of
Can
the
I
things,
just-
can I make a point here, Mikey? You know, one of the things, remember, you know, in those days, there are a lot of resources that are not there no more. A lot of the things that we did, a lot of the programs and projects that we initiated never come from no politician pocket,
Exactly.
never come from no local business pocket. You had international organizations that were active in the country who were providing grant funds for who you had CUSO, you had Rupi can remind me of some of them where we used to get funds from various projects, right? And it is some of these organizations that the PNP, some of the organizations that we did as youth that the PNP were able to capitalize on them organizations inside of the communities, right? Those things are not there anymore. For like a basic school, we could have got to organizations and with a project proposal, right? I remember, Rupi can supposed to remember this program that the PNP launched, the Community Enterprise Organization.
Organization, yeah, man.
The Community Enterprise Organization got massive funding from
Right.
international sources.
Right.
And they could then give grant funds to other community groups, although it was politicized, right? I think that was the downfall of that organization. It was too political. It excluded communities that were not essentially PNP, right? It was a very good program. All of those things, they're not there anymore.
But
So,
lads,
you know,
remember,
so-
Sister P continue that, you know, with program like the Lift Up Jamaica. The Lift Up Jamaica, you know, while it was funded by government, was basically a program that helped to employ ordinary Jamaican across the country. It wasn't bolo slush money. It helped to improve community centers. It helped in terms of farming project and so on and so forth. So you are correct. There's several funds. We remember the green funds. And the green funds was, I think, out of Europe. And it helped in terms of green areas. It helped in terms of the general environment and so on. And from you submit something that seems to have substance and you have a community group that basically have character, you'd have got the funds. And you are right. There were several of those groups that give donor funds to group in community to help in terms of doing things.
Okay.
Rupi,
Gentlemen,
I just want to make a point.
Just go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I'm understanding you clearly, but what I understand is being said is not that non-governmental organizations should not. Let me put it a different way. The condition today among the people is apathy. We may not want to use that word, but the difference between apathy and doing nothing, there is some wriggle room. When you say that in the 70s and 80s, the political organizations and what have you existed, yes, but the apathy that we speak of is not only in regard to political organization. It is have to do with parent teachers association, youth club, workers organization. Any organization today is not the same as that time, and neither would the funding be the same. Neither would the funding be the same. So the question that when you use the term that the councillor should be organizing people. What does that mean?
I mean,
This is where, this is where, in my opinion, the manifesto would speak to that. In other words, it should lay out in simple language what the role of a councillor is, like the role of the MP. The things
Terms of reference.
every single meeting, accountability, transparency, the things, every meeting we talk, use these terms. We need to put them on paper so that whether we're dead or alive, something is out there saying this is what this is what is needed for whether you're a PNP, JLP, or NEP. That is my piece.
Something that is practical and we can agree on.
Oh yes, that is a minimum standard.
Right.
okay. Point well taken, gentlemen. Maxine.
Rupi, fix your camera. Rupi, fix your camera.
Yeah, the camera.
Yeah. I was just thinking about President Obama and what he did different when he came in. He
had resources.
No. He had resources, but he developed a thing where the ordinary person can invest in the political process. When I say invest, $5, $2, $1, whatever. And I was sitting here and saying, but look at Supreme Ventures that makes all these millions and millions of dollars off of the poorest of us who put in the $20 or their, because I'm thinking about what you're saying about councillors and, the councillor to do certain things, and having been active on the ground in Jamaica, supposedly organizing the Rastafari community. And I saw the difficulty that no money, like you who want to do something, if you don't have the money to organize the people who don't have money, but you know what I mean? Like they want change, but they don't have any money and they can't, even if they come to a meeting, you have to find bus fare for them to come. They're going home, they don't know if they have dinner. It's like I'm still thinking through all of this change, and I'm saying, but these people who they still find $20, whatever dollar, and they enrich Supreme Ventures. So if the political will of a community or change could find a way to engage the people in some mechanism, like, that they can give a $20, something towards something. That's what came to me in my head, that what can come in and shift these issues is these or some kind of organizational
Little.
Every nickel make
a muckle.
Even when they have round robin, they have partner.
Right.
They have a lot of these different things that are
Fund
going on.
the fund meeting online. The point that you're making, which is absolutely true, that we need to be more creative in finding everyday funding from grassroots sources. When I say we, I don't mean this group. The work people generally, and those things do exist.
But the problem is getting the local representatives to think like that, because I don't think, John, like at the annual conference at the PNP, Mark Golden, he threw out a number of proposals, that the PNP would be doing at the national level, right? But in terms of the local level, we don't hear those kind of proposals coming forward, like how to strengthen the local government system on the ground and make it more effective, from neither parties. And I think we need that. I think in a way, both parties kind of think of the local government elections and the local government process as a kind of business as usual kind of mechanism, that it is there and it will always be there just to collect the garbage and provide certain services, but they're not zeroing in on ways to make the system much more connected to the people inside of the divisions, right? And make the divisional representatives act closer with the people, so that like when projects are to be undertaken inside of these divisions, the people have some kind of participation in how the project is approached and that kind of thing. Because one of the things that we know happen in a lot of divisional politics is that because of the politicization of the divisional politics, is that work is traditionally handed out on a political basis, right? Because you know have the community around these local politicians, and until ways are found to make the thing more democratic at the divisional level, I think that politicization of work, of services, is gonna continue at the local government level.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. I agree with exactly what you say. Gentlemen, I want to shift the discussion to what is happening with Rattigan. It seems like the Jamaica Labour Party government is coming after Rattigan. There is a letter from the ambassador. Rattigan is now labeled as part of the the Dirty 30. He's the leader of the Dirty.
Dirty
Rattigan,
30. Dirty 30.
What is really going on, brother? Because
Let me just say
first I didn't, when I saw the thing, you see, I called you immediately, and when we at the end of the discussion, I said, Rattigan, you must sue the hell out of these people, you know. And I think why they make such a drastic mistake, putting all of that thing on the internet out. How could they make that without first checking? And it's not that your information is not available. How they make that mistake? That is it. How come?
Well, which one of there are two situations. There's one with
I'm talking about the totality of the whole thing. The information that the guy put out on you and Mark's. Because when you read Mark's letter, you
Which
can
Marx?
see
The ambassador.
The ambassador?
yes, when you read her stuff, it's like she's just making up things as she go along. In terms of sequence of events and what have you. I'm like, what is either they're blind or in their hatred for you, they just overlook stuff.
It's none of that. It's an effort to insult people's intelligence. That's what it is. It's not that they don't know better.
Yeah, but Patrick, Rattigan information is out there.
Yeah, but they try to play on the ignorance of the people.
No. Rattigan information is out there, and they must know who Rattigan is.
No, but it also could be make the man feel targeted and be back down.
Exactly. And he's not going to do that. I'm saying to you, if they do their research, due diligence, they would have known that Rattigan is one of those persons who's not going to back down.
And that's why I said they're playing on the ignorance of people, right? Because they want to think that the people who are listening to Rattigan show and is listening to Rattigan, which caused them to be so concerned, right? If them tell them a different story, they figure that the people will buy into the story. And that's not about to happen.
So they're gonna use lies and tear
Of
him down.
course, that's what they do.
part of the thing, you know.
Rattigan is not the first person they do it with.
If you can tear off the thing,
Hold up. You can bring Johnny. What bring Johnny to the discussion? John, yeah, we are what we're talking about.
I have only seen one letter which I thought came from the
All right. Rattigan, bring everybody up to date then.
Yeah, no, John.
Yeah.
No, the letter you're talking about, John, is the letter from Dr. Francis, right? That's the one that said that notified the Jamaican government through the ambassador that there would be protests in this country and elsewhere. And that started up a whole, the brouhaha. But since then, the protest took place in Miami. And we've seen numbers ranging from, they said that, they had 25 people. Then they said they had 40 people. The Gleaner said we had 70 people out there. My recollection is about 60. And then now the ambassador said they had approximately 30 people out there. But I'd like the ambassador to know this, that what she just did was she's acknowledging us as 30 of the most influential Jamaicans living in America. If not the most influential, the 30 most influential people living in America, because we, who didn't even have a meeting with the State Department, we caused the State Department to issue a travel advisory to Jamaica, affecting the economy of Jamaica. What a powerful group of people. Now, if she's worried about 30 people in Miami, she must worry about hundreds of people in New York come May 10th. Because
Rattigan,
yeah.
Have you seen the letter, John? Maxine, have you seen?
I've seen
Which one of the letters?
No, but I think, Mike, I think you need to pay close attention to what Will say right now.
I'm bringing us up to date.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So what happened is that we did the protest. And first thing is the junior minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Minister Terrelong, he said, look, they have a right to protest. Well, we didn't need him to say that, but he said, I have no problems with them. They have a right to protest, and that's fine. Then they said the protest was a dismal failure. Fast forward to last week, where they said, these people caused the State Department to issue a travel advisory against the country of Jamaica. So how could it be a dismal failure and then we're causing all of this? But beyond that, here is the problem. The last month, the Chinese foreign minister traveled to Jamaica, and at a gathering ceremony or some event, the prime minister made a statement that Jamaica is in support of the One China policy. The moment I heard that, I said, this is not good, because the One China policy calls for China to exert sovereignty over Taiwan, which is just a no-no. About 3 days after that, they issued the travel advisory.
The U.S. State Department.
Yes, issued the travel advisory. And then the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, she went over to speak to the ambassador, which was a bad move. That's just the sophomoric move. That's not how it works. But she went over and she met with him. And I could have told her, you're going to get a no. So she went, she got a no. And then she came out and saying that, it's unfair what they're doing. At this point, nobody mentioned the protest. Then the ambassador in DC, she went over and she met with State Department. She was rebuffed. And in her first statement, she mentioned nothing about the protest. After she was rebuffed, she came out and she said, you know what? I'll tell you why this is happening. It's happening because 30 Jamaicans, approximately, they protested and they caused people to lobby with the State Department and the State Department to make the change. The day after that, the State Department came out and they said, listen, Ambassador, you're full of you know what, because the travel advisory was not based on crime. They said that the level 3 has been in place since March 2022. So it's not it's always been level 3. And they said the level didn't change. It's been at 3 March 2022.
And nothing to do with the 30.
Exactly. And they said it had nothing. They said what we did had nothing to do with any event. Exactly. Miami or elsewhere, I guess they're saying it had nothing to do with an event. And they said, furthermore, the update had to do with health reasons, not crime. Health. And so they went on to say, and they said, look, refer to our comments in the travel advisory, because what they said was that, look, Jamaica's healthcare system is in shambles. And so they're saying to their citizens who are coming to work and live in Jamaica or coming as tourists, if you're coming, please don't get sick unless you have travel insurance, because the airlift is going to cost between 30 to 50,000 US dollars, because the hospitals are in dismal condition. Ambulatory services, they're terrible. And they have good reason for saying that, because yesterday I played, and Rupert, you must check out yesterday's program. I played 4 or 5 videos from 4 or 5 different hospitals last year.
Dismal for real, man.
Terrible. And don't believe that the American, the people at the embassy, they haven't seen those videos.
And you say it every week. You mention it every week. You said that the things that you talk about is things where the State Department know.
They know.
Right?
They know. So what happened? They have to find a scapegoat. So what they didn't want to do, they didn't want to go out and say, well, we failed. But here's something else. And I just tell you how we have a group of rank amateurs running the foreign ministry. The ambassador, she then said she's asking people in the diaspora and stakeholders to lobby the State Department to change the travel advisory. And I'm saying, what? That's your job. That's your job. By the way, we don't have standing. Diaspora members don't have standing. We must go back to that. But they're asking us now to go and do it. Here's something that she didn't say. She didn't say, look, we have an organization in the United States called the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and also the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. And we're going to empower them to go to the State Department. Either way, it would say I've failed at my job. But you know why she couldn't mention those organizations? Because if they ever dare set foot in State Department or call, the State Department is going to say, well, who are you guys? Where are you registered? We never heard of you. Right away, you're going to have a FARA problem, a Foreign Agents Registration Act problem. So she was careful enough not to mention the organization. But isn't it? It's weird because they told this organization and said, oh, this is the organization that represents the diaspora. And we said, well, if they represent the diaspora, well, you ask them to go do it then. Why are you asking me? You ask them to go do it. So they've ascribed power to us that heretofore we didn't know we have. And now that we know we have this power, that we can enlist the others to lobby against, lobby with the State Department to increase, enhance their threat, the travel advisory. Then what they've actually done is made the protest in New York even bigger. People are calling from all over the world saying we want to come in on May 10th. And I've told people
the reverse effect.
Yeah, and I've said to people, you need to come because this is historic. It's the first time in the history of Jamaica you're going to have a protest in New York against the government, a sitting government of Jamaica. So people are from Canada, from the UK, all over the place. People coming in with their families. And so now this week I have to go to New York and make, straight. I'm engaged with the PD, but I have to go back now because the numbers look like, it looks like it's going to increase. So I have to go back and make arrangements with them. And also they're moving. The consulate is moving in March 10th or thereabouts from 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue to 330 East 42nd Street. Now,
that's in the center.
And the thing is,
let me ask you just a question of clarification. The level is level 3 or level 4?
3.
So it's not a ban on coming to Jamaica. Level 3 is what? It's
saying
level 4 is when they say you shouldn't go there.
Right. Level 3 is a cautionary note. It's saying if you're going, here are some things that you should be aware of.
Right.
That's
and the main one, and you're saying is not to do with the China thing. It's to do
they
with...
haven't mentioned the China. They haven't mentioned the China thing, but I can tell you from my experience working overseas, I can tell you that the one China policy is playing a pivotal role. And because look, I'll tell you why. The healthcare crisis in Jamaica has been around for quite some time. So why is it that they're making an issue of it now? And then what they did was they didn't increase it because it wasn't increased. It was always 3, except that now they say certain areas you can't go to. Now, what's interesting is that the Jamaican government just came out with statistics for calendar year 2023, saying that murders decreased by 7% and general crimes decreased by 20 to 22%. Good news. So then why would the US government put out this travel advisory now? Has to be the one China policy. I'm telling you, it has to be. Jamaica, the US is concerned about the Chinese and the Jamaican government's relationship. They're very concerned about it. And they've warned them about this. They've warned them for years about this. So if they want, so I tell people, because people say, oh, them are blame on. I say, no, that's a good thing, man. Because if 30 people can cause the State Department to issue this, then we will take that every day and twice on Sunday.
But Will, if I can just add this piece to what you're saying, which is really leaving it up, because I'm surprised that you have to explain all of this for it to be understood here. Because if we have been following all of what you just said, is a given, right? The work that you have been doing since this whole thing got started, from you started to move around to all the different platform them, right? And people start to know your face and know your name and hear what you're saying and all of that, until you got to the point where you started the radio program, till the radio program couldn't contain it, right? And you're bringing the YouTube, right? And all of that, until you file the lawsuit and all of that. What is happening basically is that you are shifting the needle, right? People are beginning to listen. People start feeling the vibration. The needle moving like crazy, right? So what is happening now is that they are worried about your impact, and that's why they try to tie you in, blame you, right, for the State Department thing. It's not that they didn't know better. They know better. But they try to blame you because you are the one they're trying to discredit. Because you have been bringing too much attention. Right?
You know what?
What's going on.
And
then it has the reverse effect. Because by them opening their mouth and doing that, more people tune in.
You're absolutely correct. And you know what happened? The protest down in Miami, right? That was led and orchestrated by Dr. Rupert Francis, right? Mm-hmm. We have a group of 8, and 5 of the 8 people, they reside in South Florida. So I went down to show my support. They're the ones who are responsible for coordinating the whole thing. But you see, they couldn't stomach it because Dr. Rupert Francis is a card-carrying member of the Jamaica Labour Party. And they couldn't understand, why is this man, who's one of us, leading the charge against us? They couldn't understand. So they said, I must Rattigan be behind it. So here's what happened. The protest happened on a Friday. And on the Sunday, I'm driving back from Florida, right, home. And some people, and then I was on Lonesome program. Some people started calling me and say, hey, them are rubbish you on this program, I know. A JLP support, a JLP program. I said, fine, let them do what they want to. So what they did was, the Minister of Information went on that program, and they had Rupert Francis as a guest. And they tried to get him to say that I was the one who drafted the letter, or I was behind the whole thing. And he told them no. And they indicated to him that I had no credibility. And then they started bringing up a whole bunch of things untrue. So what happened was, I said, all right, fine, no problem. Because the Minister of Information and we've had this running thing about who contacted whom first and all of this nonsense. So he went on that program and he made several statements. And I put something out there saying, look, my lawyers are looking at this statement and we're looking at it carefully. Almost immediately, they took the program down off of YouTube. But fortunately, someone was streaming the program. Well, several people, but we know somebody who was streaming the program. So we got the program and we transcribed aspects of the program. And it was clear that I was defamed. Very, very clear. And what we did, we wrote a letter to the minister and we attached the transcript to it to say, here is where you defamed Mr. Rattigan. And we want an apology within 7 days. And if we don't get an apology within 7 days, then be prepared to have your day in court. This was sent on Wednesday last week. And I won't go much further than to say I'm pleased with the response that we received on Thursday, approximately 24 hours later. But it's ongoing.
Meaning what? They apologize?
Leave it at that.
No,
Leave it at that.
no.
I leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
I leave it at that. I leave it at that.
Can I just
If
quickly
it's an apology.
keep my little ounce?
Yes.
Finish Rattigan.
Rattigan,
It's
hold up.
obvious that the diaspora in America have been doing a wonderful job in trying to support us at home as it relating to governance here, or maybe is it misgovernance by the present government. I would want to say to you, my brother, continue you on that leadership, but just a caution for you to be extremely careful. And you know me, emphasize the extreme, because why you're living in a country where it's easy for a person to attack persons who express them opinion and views around various issues. So I would say to you and the crew that you be conscious of the fact that you can be attacked. But just to continue to do what you're doing. Michael, don't send me the link yet, and maybe that is one of the reasons why I don't see. But I as I say, I would want to.
I'll send you the link, and I will send you some other stuff too, because I got your number now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, Rupert, thanks for the cautionary note. Yes, you know what? I've always lived my life not looking over my shoulder. But there are certain things that you shouldn't take for granted. And I won't take those things for granted. One of them is your safety and your security. And I agree with you that, as disconcerting as it is, certain things you have to put in place because, as I'm saying, you don't want to play loose ball, right?
Definitely.
But let me just say that I am doing this not for position, prestige, not for power. I'm doing this for the people of Jamaica. I never turn my back on the people of Jamaica, and I will never turn my back on the people of Jamaica. I'm doing this for another passion. I have a passion for the people of Jamaica. And when I see what's going on, it would be almost criminal for me to sit back and just, I wouldn't have a conscience to see what's going on and know that you can make a difference. And I'm heartened every time I come on any program, see the background behind me. When I see it, you just feel the strength. You know what I mean? And definitely. I know that I stand on the shoulders of people who died so that I could be here having this conversation. And so I cannot just walk away from it and say, look, I get my slice out of life already, make the other people and get them slice out of life. No, because one hand wash the other and the two of them wash the face. We have to help each other. And so I will never, ever turn my back on the people of Jamaica. And until the day I move on, I am going to hold governments accountable. I don't care what party it is. If you're not doing right by the people, you will have me to deal with. And when I said me to deal with, yeah, we have a group of people here, and this diaspora that we have now is a different diaspora, I know. This diaspora we have here, very unafraid, very informed, very courageous. And so when I see those people,
only coward is your threat.
There you go. And the other thing about it is
coward is your threat.
Yeah. And the other thing about it is that There's certain things that believe me, I only say about approximately about 5% of the things that I know. So sometimes people say, oh, yeah, tell them too much. And I say, I have 95% I'm not telling them. And they know, and they're worried about that 95%. Because there are things that we know that in the fullness of time, they are going, the perpetrators, they are going to pay a dear price. They know it. They see it coming, and they can't run away from it. Because there's no way that the information I have, I can let them mash up the country and get for scot-free and go live a life and leave people in a basically in a bondage because of death and all of that. There's no way I can do that. No way. And so the struggle continues, and we will just continue to fight. So my lawyers are in contact with the lawyers for the Minister of Information, and we're also looking at other folks who might be implicated. Because there are people out there who have written things about me. They've said things about me similar to what the minister did. And we just want them to know that we're going after the big fish first. We're going after, when I say it, I know fish has a different connotation in Jamaica. But when I say big fish, I mean, the people in charge of information that can come out.
Big rat first.
Yeah, going after those people. So they must know that Ratted, if them can't go after them people and me say the same thing where them say, then what happened to me? And therein lies the problem for them, sleepless nights. So it's a strategy, because there's some things I can't say, but one of the things is people ask me, why is it that you don't go after certain people right now? And I said to them, no. The reason why I don't go after certain people right now is because certain people have certain defenses around them, and when I say defenses and fences, and what we're going to weaken the fences, and there will come a time when they'll look me straight in the eyes, just me and them, no fence, no defense, just me and them, and then we talk. So have to run after somebody, and because if you try to that, you have a whole bunch of people that come at you. You just pick off them people one, pick them off one, pick them off one. And then, because one of the things the FBI taught me is this: just remember, you have time. Criminals by nature, they are criminals. They're not going to reform by nature, and they will continue to live a life of crime. You just take your time and build your case. That's all you do. Take your time and build your case. And a lot of the things that they've done in Jamaica, for example, some of the statutes we're looking at, they look back. So they go back and say, hey, this guy did this 5 years ago. And now
always look back.
Yeah.
Always look back.
Yeah. So we're looking back at present. So what happened is that the Magnitsky, before we started talking about Magnitsky, I can assure you that most people never heard the word Magnitsky. No, everybody knows Magnitsky, including the politicians, because they've read the law. They've read the Magnitsky Act. And the beauty about the Magnitsky is that it's not just the US. The Canadians, they have a version of it. EU, there's a version of it, but their version only looks to human rights abuses.
Rattigan, I just found out that act was used against FIFA. The investigation in the football soccer thing, it was done under that act. Yes. That was the act that allowed them to go after FIFA.
The guy, especially the guy in Trinidad.
Trinidad and others.
Yeah.
They just use it. They just use it in December against some Haitian politicians.
Yeah.
And the visas have been revoked, including visas of minors. Because if you can show that somebody benefited from this criminal activity and they knew they were benefiting from it, then they're gone too. And then also, I just spoke to an FBI friend of mine, and he's talking to me about meeting up with some people to see if we can come up with an international corruption case, because the FBI does investigate international corruption. And we think we have some strong cases coming out of Jamaica. So we're going to be busy. But at the same time, Rupert, we're going to be careful.
Well, before you go away, I want you to mention one more thing, right? One more thing. And of course, you have highlighted the importance of it, the freedom of information thing that you urge people to use.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because this is where you use it to build evidence too. Right? So
Right.
talk about that piece. Don't
All right.
leave it out.
There's a Jamaican law, and it's called Access to Information Act.
I know.
And I don't know why people don't use it more often, because a lot of the information I've received from the government, including information about Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith. That's why I could come on the program without fear of being sued for defamation on her. And I could say that this is what I believe because I received the documents from the government confirming my belief. Now, access to information, ATI, you can request information from any government ministry or government agency or entity that the Jamaican government has more than 50% invested in. Right? In fact, I'm looking at something here. This one is from the DPP. Right? I have from the DPP. I got one this week from National Security. I had one from Planning Institute of Jamaica, because Planning Institute of Jamaica, I wrote to them and I said, listen, I need you to tell me, give me a list of every single dollar Jamaica received from foreign, from donor agencies from 2016 to present. They wrote me back and they said, we don't have any information. I found that to be rather strange because they put out an annual report of monies received from donor sources. So somebody said to me, no. What you have to do is, and I have it here from them, you have to ask for something called the official development assistance. You can't just ask for donor funds. And official development assistance includes loans, grants, and technical assistance. There's value placed on all three. So I went ahead and I wrote them back and I said, guys, you're full of you know what. I ask you for donor funding. You tell me you don't have any information. Donor funding is one aspect of official development assistance. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you now for official development assistance. And I hear this. I asked them for everything. They just wrote me back and they said, okay, Mr. Rattigan, we have everything ready for you and you have to pay some money to get the documentation. So I said, fine, I'll pay the money. No. If what they give me is everything that they really have, the government should be worried, because now we're going to know where the money went. At least one aspect of it, at least the money coming in, we're going to see we're going to see the programs the money came for, and we're going to see who the money was disbursed to. And so now we can go now and verify if a building should have been built, whether the building was built to certain standards, or if a program should have been implemented. We can go and we can see. Reason why this is so important, the general rule is that for foreign aid, 20% for administrative expenses, 80% for the program. In Jamaica, it's the reverse. It's 80% administrative expenses, 20% for the program. That's why when you go and you look for some of the programs in the inner city, you can't see them. You can't see the benefit, you can't see the program, because 80% of it went to whom? 80% went to the consultants. And I was told by a source that when these funds, as soon as certain people hear that funds are coming to Jamaica, them set up consultancies, them have them family, them friends, some of them even have consultancies.
Some corporations.
Yes, some of them even have consultancies on reserve. It just sit down there and wait for money for coming. And then what happened is that the money then would go to them. And one of the things I found out is that if they have to do a program like for displaced youth or inner city kids, what they do is they go to the university and they'll give them 2% to conduct a study. Remember now, they have 80% and they'll give them 2 to 5% to conduct a study. And then they'll say, okay, fine. Based on that study, we'll use the 20% to implement the program. So approximately 75% went into the pocket of the consultants. Now we're going to find out for sure. Now we're going to find out. So I'm this week, I'm going to send the money have somebody pick up the documentation, send it to me, because we have some experts who will go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and we're
So
going to
does
get.
it give you the source as well
Yes,
as the purpose for which the money should
yes,
be used?
yes.
Okay.
Because look,
You have to
here's
supply all the official information.
I asked them 10 questions. It's not just give me stuff. I asked them 10 specific questions. No, speaking of specific questions, I asked the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade 12 questions regarding the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, because I want to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's a bogus organization, right? So I sent them 12 questions. They responded and they said, we're not going to answer your questions. Go to our website. All the answers you need, they're there. I'm very familiar with your website. So I went back and I looked at the website. Of the 12 questions, the website answered only one. Question number 7. So 1 to 6 not answered, 8 to 12 not answered. So I sent it back to them and I said, look, your website only answered one question. I need you to answer the remaining 11 questions. Still haven't heard from them. Just like the DPP, I asked her about the former Speaker Dalrymple Philibert case and Leslie Campbell case, former minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. She wrote me back and she said, I don't know anything about those cases. No, this lady runs the office that they do prosecutions for the government of Jamaica, criminal prosecutions. And these are high-profile cases. And she's telling me, we only deal with stuff in the circuit court. Not true, because she herself argued a case in the parish court and she lost a high-profile case. She lost, right? So I wrote her back. She wrote me back again, and she said, go talk to the corruption prosecutor. Well, it's funny she told me to go talk to the corruption prosecutor, because I just wrote her on Thursday or Friday, and I said, listen, Madam DPP, it's come to my attention that you may have some files concerning some politicians, and you've been asked to render a decision on them. Did anyone say the illicit 6? So I asked her about that, and I said, please let me know if you are in receipt of these files, and please let me know when we should anticipate your decision, the rendering of your opinion, because under the Integrity Commission Act of 2017 and the Constitution, the DPP has a right to ask for those files, or the corruption prosecutor can send those files to her and say, take a look at this and give me an opinion. Give me your opinion. So we're waiting to see what the response will gonna be. So we have a lot of things in the fire, man, and we're not gonna stop. As I said, we are bonfire, and all of this is for the people of Jamaica, because this corruption thing must stop, man. Or even if it not stop, they have to slow it down. It's a runaway train. The people are thief right in front of our eyes. 1.7 trillion over the last 10 years missing. People can't account for that. And we have people in Jamaica. 75% of Jamaicans, 75% of the working Jamaicans, they go home with $100 or less per week. 75%. 2/3 of them go to bed hungry at night time, or with junk food in them stomach, non-nutritional food. And you have 1.75 trillion missing, unaccounted for. And we just say, yeah, and we just take it like that. No, we have a conscience. And we know what suffering is like, and everybody pan the panel and know what suffering is like. And we cannot afford to make this thing happen. And we just sit by idly. I, for one, refuse to make it happen. And every resource is available at my disposal. I will use to get this government to either change or step aside. Because the way I view it, once an election is over, we support the government. We support the prime minister, because that's just the system we have. And we want this prime minister and the government to succeed. But when you get to a point where success is beyond their reach, and it's beyond their reach because of their intention, they deliberately set out not to succeed, or not to extend not to extend that to the people of Jamaica. Then at some point we have to rise up and say, no, this can't happen. And they've never seen what they're seeing now. They've never seen it before.
So you know, put none in a prison. You can't put none of them in prison.
John, I tell you what, I would love to put some of them in a prison. I would love nothing
Believe
more.
me, that would be a bombshell.
John, I tell you what.
John, sorry, Rattigan. I thought you'd have asked him if we can't put none of them in a short pants.
Same thing.
well, you know what? But you know what?
That is the goal. That is the goal. That is the goal.
As far as geopolitics is concerned, them are play a game. Them are playing a game with people who wear long pants and them are wear short pants, and them not understand it. Some of them are wear diapers and them not understand it. Say this is a big game where you play with them people, and you are play.
Because they play out the wrong playbook.
Yeah, indeed. You know, so I would love nothing more than to get the evidence and approach certain people and just get certain
You
people.
need to put them in even one example.
But I tell you what, John, I tell you what, right? It's not for lack of trying. I am trying, my brother. Believe me, I am trying. I am trying to take away visas. I'm trying to take away seize assets. I'm trying to do all of that. I'm trying to put people in prison. Why? Because they deserve to go there because of the crimes they've committed against the Jamaican people. And I think we have some strong cases. And we have some good lawyers on our team. And God willing, and with the support of people like you on the panel here and others, we will succeed and we won't stop. We won't stop. And Patrick, you're right. I the wrong man, them think them big man because me love them things. And I don't think them realize it. I don't think them realize it. You know,
tell them it's a Waterhouse spirit, Waterhouse vibes.
We're not. You know what? My FBI class, what was it? 87.3, yeah, or 88.3. The motto. Every class have a motto. Our motto was lean into the wind, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Me, I lean into the wind. The wind is a force, but don't lean back because you will get overwhelmed. Lean into the wind. And that's what I tell people all the time. Just lean. Lean
slow.
And that's what I do.
And that's a good way to close this conversation. My sister, brothers and sisters, I want to thank all of you, because I think today was a very good discussion. I hope the listeners enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, please, I'm asking you to like and share.
More to come.
Much more to come. Much more to come. Okay. So until next week, I want to thank everyone, and we'll link up again. We'll do it all over next Sunday at 3. Remember, like and share. Love my brethren.
Mikey, before you go, Rupi, there's somebody I want to link you with. There's somebody, I'll talk to you offline. There's somebody of significance that I want to link you with.
We do.
All right, no problem. Make one of them guys give me number. Make Patrick.
I'll deal with it.
Yeah. There's somebody I want to link him with. Yeah.
I just want to say that since the last session, that I'm now a full King Tubby's expert.
Excellent, Maxine. Yes.
We have made progress. That's all I can say. We have made progress. All right, guys.
All right.
We'll talk. Good.
Blessings.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Take care.
All right.